In the wake of the news that the former UFC featherweight and lightweight champion Conor McGregor will be returning to the octagon, there came the revelation that the UFC would be ending their long-standing partnership with the anti-doping agency, USADA, and it's an end that comes on pretty bad terms. Dana White is of course a man who is known for his tendency to absolutely bury any person, brand or entity who has crossed him in the past, and despite having a seemingly healthy relationship with USADA in recent years, he, along with high-ranking UFC member Hunter Campbell, were quick to go on the offensive in the wake of this surprise split. And for me, it was kind of bizarre to see so many people immediately misread what this situation actually meant. Like a lot of comments jokingly talking about the UFC bringing back TRT Vitor or Uberim, framing the whole thing as a move and decision that will make the top promotion in all of mixed martial arts a PED-ridden free-for-all. Those same people might also think that USADA were the only thing standing between this sport and an unrecognizable mess of steroid use. Well, USADA were never actually catching the majority of people using PEDs, just like any anti-doping agency, and to point at those who got caught red-handed like a TJ Dillashaw as these uniquely offensive and disgusting outliers is to totally miss the point. In fact, it kind of shows that you have far too much faith in USADA's ability to do their job. I'm actually quite happy to see USADA ending its reign as the UFC's anti-doping partner. There have been more than a few instances where their handling of situations and their transparency has left a sour taste in my mouth. And while I haven't exactly checked out the opinions of some other prominent figures within the sport, or even on YouTube, I'm pretty certain that there are some leading analysts, journalists, and even fighters that are absolutely delighted about this break. Now, does that mean we're going to get a better alternative? Well, that I don't know. But what I can say is that PED usage is always going to be a major factor in mixed martial arts, irrespective of how many small wins any anti-doping agency can have. It's there, and most of it is going to fly entirely under the radar. As the anti-doping agencies evolve in their ability to catch these offenders, the offenders evolve in their ability to evade them. And it's not often that I side with the UFC, and I don't really think that I am here, but I was also totally in support of Conor McGregor's decision to remove himself from the testing pool so he could do absolutely everything in his power to actually ensure that his recovery from that horrific leg break was smooth. The man has made far too much money in his career to bow to the whims of an anti-doping agency who, at the end of the day, are going to stand in the way of him getting whatever help he needs to ensure that he can maximize his future quality of life. Indeed, the counter-argument is that his preferential treatment and the opportunities that McGregor can actually avail of are not an option for 99% of fighters. But whether you love him or hate him, I think if the man has the means to fix himself, he deserves the chance to try and do it as best as he can. As far as PEDs are concerned, I don't think you can really say with full certainty that any of these guys are clean without being speculative. That's not to say that a large portion of these fighters are not honest and totally strict with their adherence to USADA demands, but I just don't think that this injury saga gives any validation to any notions about Conor being a career PED user. Maybe Conor has been on steroids since day one. Maybe he hasn't touched a steroid in his life and only for the first time dipped out of the testing pool specifically to stack the deck in his favor when it came to this injury recovery. An injury that came in his mid-30s. I don't know which one of these is true, and I can't know, and I don't care to speculate any further. Anyway, I'll be quite interested to see how his attempt at a comeback plays out. On a quick side note, if you're enjoying this video, be sure to let us know in the comment section below before leaving a like and subscribing so you don't miss any of our weekly uploads. Anyway, this man has lost some serious credibility over the last few years, and while the memories of this magnetic, charismatic, and totally chaotic figure in his prime between the years of 2013 and 2017 is still pretty fresh in our minds, the Conor of recent times has become a decidedly more predictable, less attractive, and more grating figure, on top of the fact that the results just have not been there. He will likely fight in the early stages of 2024, and with Michael Chandler looking like the surest bet as far as an opponent goes, it will be interesting to see just how he manages to do. And while there are many facets to this matchup that are worth diving into on their own, as far as the stylistic collision is concerned, what I'm interested to cover here is just how much the public latches onto this build-up. The hardcore fans will of course watch, and Conor's own fanbase will watch, but I guess I took the relatively poor performance of the most recent season of The Ultimate Fighter, along with the general attitude I pick up on towards any shred of new Conor McGregor information, as a pretty solid indicator that the hunger from the fan base isn't quite what it was. This isn't a case of loving to hate him, like those who tune in the hopes of seeing someone like Floyd Mayweather lose. The disinterest in Conor has by and large hurt his brand, and I'm wondering now if it will hurt his eventual numbers during the promotion, during fight week, the press conferences, and eventually in the pay-per-views themselves. On that point I'm not exactly sure, and don't get me wrong, I firmly believe that a once great talent like Conor can most certainly mount a comeback worthy of getting excited about. Just how far he can realistically go within this 155-pound title picture is of course up for debate, but to totally rule out a man as special as this would be a mistake. But Conor does need a win, and he desperately needs a moment of undeniable positivity in what has been a pretty dark period in his career. And I do think that Michael Chandler is the perfect opponent, in terms of his name value, the actual danger he presents, but it all comes together with a degree of it still being a winnable fight for Conor. Everything can change for a fighter and their brand and the public's perception of him in just one fight. And I think that a win here could send our perception of McGregor as a competitor back into a place of real positivity and of interest. But there's a big if involved in whether he can actually pull this off. And even if he can, he's going to have a fight on his hands when it comes to really selling himself to the public. The charisma and trash talking is all well and good, but with each passing year, with each passing loss, it gets harder for people to buy into the whole Conor thing. As an Irishman myself who came up in the world of MMA media during McGregor's rise, I have more experience and emotional attachment to this man's career than most, and to this day I'm still intrigued whenever his name pops up in a video or an article or anything. But this is a true do or die fight, and I do think there's a level of impatience creeping in with many of those who would have idolized this man in the past. I think Conor has the potential to find a second wind. It might be a big ask, but I'd be foolish not to have that in the back of my mind as a possibility. But as far as this once great fighter's career is concerned, the clock is ticking. And I for one am just hoping to see this wild story get a final chapter that is worthy of the saga that came before it. Because at the end of the day, that's kind of what my fandom is all about. But what have you made of this whole situation involving USADA, Conor, and the UFC's decision to axe the long-serving anti-doping agency? And just how well do you think McGregor's comeback will go, both competitively and commercially? Well, do let us know in the comments section below before leaving a like and subscribing to the channel so you don't miss a single upload. Thank you for watching.